we're living out the generational, almost hate to use the word, but we're living out the generational trauma of the world wars that sort of rocked men globally, who were told to man up, who were told to suck it up and get into the tanks and go and die, and get into the planes and go and die, and then came home and, had to switch from killing mode, from this hyper suppression of I need to survive, I need to do whatever the hell it takes to survive, and then went home and walked in the front door to their wife and their children that they hadn't seen in a number of years, and then were just expected to go back and mow the lawn and go sell a dishwasher and a dryer and shit like that. I mean, that probably came a couple decades later, but you get the point, right? So I think that that's a big part of it. When I look at my grandfather, who was a pilot in World War II, I remember him telling a lot of stories to me as a child. He was a pilot. What he saw, what he went through, what he experienced, and he had to live that. He had to live that modality of just do whatever it takes to survive, and it creates a kind of hardness, I think, where vulnerability and weakness are the enemy. Generally what they're saying. They're like, I want you to know what's going on inside of you and be able to communicate it and maybe have some resources, but I don't want to be responsible for supporting you with it. That's generally what I've seen a lot of people saying. So yeah, there's consequences. There's parts of it where guys, I think, are sort of battling against some of the things that we've been talking about, right? The notion that if you do open up, you're weak. If you do share, you're weak. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be isolated even more than you already are. And then there's the resource problem. Where a lot of men enter into therapeutic conversations or environments and are not actually given the tools to solution their problems. Right? They're treated in a very sort of feminine-oriented way, where it's like, well, let's just talk about what you're going through.
Yeah, the Christine Ember article from the Washington Post, which was just so great, and I brought her on, and she was fantastic. She has this wonderful line where she says, to the extent that any acceptable version of masculinity is ever put forward, it sounds an awful lot like stereotypical femininity to me.
Yeah.
And, the sanitization narrative around men is that they are defective women. If you just stop being so masculine, if you just stop being so non-feminine, all of your problems would go away.